There is a level of finesse and art to keep a conversation going. Some are already great at making small talk, but there are those of us who are not born with this ability. Worry not, communicating is a skill, and there are some pointers that you can practice to get better at making conversations. Top Wisdom knows how important conversations are for building relationships, both personal and business. Conversations can make the difference between a good impression and leaving a lasting bad reputation. For those of us who are not natural at this, where do you struggle when talking with other people? Commonly, people are scared of that awkward silence, and they do their very best to fill that silence up. The result is talking too much or talking about a subject that shouldn't be broached too early. So how can we find the balance between keeping things light while also avoiding a conversation dead end? One easy tip is don't be scared of those silences. The other person is probably thinking about their answer or a new subject to talk about. Hopefully, in this video we can answer your questions about how to get better at communicating. 1. Listen more than you talk. There's no shame in admitting that we like attention. In a conversation, however, it shouldn't just be about you. Don't fall into the trap of talking too much to fill the silence. A technique that's always sure to work is that you should listen to the other person more than doing all the talking. Listening is more than just hearing. Listening requires an active effort on your part to actually hear and understand what the other person is saying. Don't just wait for your turn to speak, or don't formulate your answer while the other person is still talking. Pay attention to what they're saying so you can retain details to keep the conversation going. When the other person is talking, give them your full attention. It's very easy to get distracted, but do your best at reining your thoughts. 2. Don't one-up and attempt to sympathize. This is a common technique to show sympathy. Some people actually try to interject with their own story as a form of sympathy because they don't know how to show the other person that they understand their pain on some level. Don't do this. Some people actually find this off-putting. Instead of sharing your own experience in the middle of the person talking, listen to them. Let them get their story out first. When someone says, "My pet died yesterday," avoid responding with a more awful story of your own. Ask them details about their pet or what they're going to miss most about them. This way they won't feel like you're trying to make their situation about you. Give them time to process their story by talking it out. 3. Ask when you don't understand. You'll definitely encounter some topics that you're not familiar with during the span of your conversation. The knee-jerk reaction for some is to pretend that you know what they're talking about and make agreeing noises while they're talking. This is a no-no. The person that you're talking to will definitely know you have no idea what they're talking about and you're just pretending. They won't probably call you out on this because they're too polite, but they'll definitely know. Instead of pretending to understand, try asking them to explain it further for you because you're unfamiliar with the topic. There's nothing embarrassing about saying, "I'm sorry, I'm just not familiar with this. Can you explain it further?" Simple enough, yeah? The other person will feel more comfortable with this and probably enjoy talking about their interest. It builds a bond, and it's just not realistic for you to know everything. It's perfectly okay to admit that. It makes for a more interesting conversation anyway, plus you'll learn something new. 4. Learn body language. Don't just listen with your ears, listen with your eyes as well. People talk with their bodies too. If you pay attention to the person you're talking to, you'll get a better sense of how they truly feel about the conversation you're having. This is the subtlety that you can only get by understanding people's body language. When someone keeps looking away while you're talking to them, they're probably not interested in the conversation anymore. When people are actively listening, their whole body is pushed forward as if they're trying to get closer to you. When they're bored, the opposite applies. They slouch and sit more slack. You can tell if someone's comfortable with the subject by the tension in their body and if they have an open or closed posture. Body language is a whole other language that you have to at least know if you want to be a better conversationalist. 5. Don't worry about the finer details. Don't let details hinder you from telling a story. You don't have to remember specific dates and times or people when you tell a story. When someone gets caught up in a minor detail that they can't remember in an attempt to tell a more colorful story, they end up using a lot of ums, ahs, ohs, or other word fillers that their stories become more confusing and they risk losing the attention of the other party. When you tell a story, go for broad strokes and don't let minor details cut you off. 6. Be interesting. Read books, watch movies, go on social media, have a basic knowledge of a diverse range of topics. Pop culture is always a good conversation starter. This movie, that series, exclusive controversial documentaries are always good icebreakers. Having a small amount of knowledge in several areas will open doors for you. You can talk to a lot of different people about different interests, and you'll find common ground for sure. A background also comes in handy when you have to ask thoughtful questions. When the other person seems more knowledgeable about that subject, ask them to explain it to you. See how their face lights up. They will walk away from that conversation thinking you're a cool person. 7. Don't dominate the conversation. Don't hog all the airtime. If you want to have a good conversation, learn how to share the spotlight. Don't ask the other person how their day was only to cut them off mid-sentence to share how awful your workmate was to you and how it ruined your day. When you ask a question, show your sincerity by paying attention to their answer. When they see that you were interested in their story, they will also throw the question back at you. Then you'll get your turn. Communication is a lot more than just waiting for the other person to stop talking just to say what you were thinking while they were talking. Listen and be listened to. It's a give and take. Important note, don't let the other person do all the talking. A 60-40 ratio of listening and talking is ideal if 50-50 is not possible. 8. Show curiosity. Be sincere with your curiosity about the other person's side of the story. You can show this by maintaining the appropriate amount of eye contact and an alert body language. Asking thoughtful questions is also great. Take note of the details in the story. If it's not clear, ask them how they feel about the events, what they plan to do moving forwards. You can keep a conversation going by adding to the topic that they opened. Don't change topic abruptly or make the story about you. This tells the other person you're not really interested about them. 9. Focus on the positives. Don't open discussions by asking them about their failed relationships. That topic's a non-starter. You'll probably come off as nosy and overbearing. Try focusing on the present and the future instead of the past. Ask them what soon-to-be-released movie they're looking forward to, their favorite band and their next album, or their pets if they have any. Try not to bring up heavy subjects such as death, breakups, or problems, especially when you just met a person. Try to keep a light and positive tone throughout the conversation. Save the doom and gloom for future talks when you've known them for some time. 10. Hold your judgment and criticism. It's very hard not to judge another person when they're telling a personal story. Unless they're asking for your opinion, hold off on any judgments. Try not to criticize their actions or impose your point of view when responding to them. Keep an open mind and ask them why they reacted to their boss that way, or why they find this series enjoyable when you can't stand it personally. Remember, it's not about you. Ask them and maybe you'll see things from their end and understand it better. If you can't really stop judging, walk away and you don't really have to talk to that person again. Being a good conversationalist requires skill, but above anything else, you have to be true to yourself. You have to let your personality shine. Your natural charisma and charm will carry you long enough to start a conversation. When you make a blunder or a social faux pas, laugh it off and apologize. You'll get better at it, just keep trying. Let's keep this conversation going by leaving us a like and a comment below. Don't forget to subscribe to Top Wisdom, and we'll talk to you soon.